Hey everyone, it's Dr. Christina here, and I am excited to be here today to share Kathia's story of success and transformation while working with us on our Metabolic and Lifestyle Reset program. It is our kind of foundational steps to healthy living and healthier lives. So thank you so much, Kathia, for coming on here and sharing with everyone and spending your time. I really appreciate it, and I just want to share with everyone kind of some of the things you've noticed. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you is what kind of got you even interested in doing this program with us?
Sure. So through Bosnar Health, and before Bosnar Health, I was a patient of Dr. Vivian, and she introduced me to the clinic. And when I started following you guys on Facebook and Instagram, I was so grateful for just like the tidbits of information that I would see, like the reminders to do small things throughout my day. And I was like, okay, cool. I like these people. These are my people. And then when you posted about the webinar that you were doing one evening for super moms, I was like, oh man, I need this. I am a mom of a toddler and was returning back to work. And it was just the perfect time for me to kind of just focus on myself and my health and really just align to a healthier mindset. And we did the webinar and you talked to me about the Metabolic Reset program. And I was like, sign me up right away. We talked the next day, got me signed up. And then, yeah, it was the right time, totally the right time to get connected to you. And so I'm so grateful.
Awesome. And so what can you maybe paint a picture of what kind of your life felt like before and why you thought you needed to change? Because I think sometimes we get stuck in a place and we're like, well, this is normal. Doesn't everyone feel tired by Friday and need the weekend to recover? Is that normal? Bloated all the time? I'm a mom. Of course my brain's not working. I'm a mom. Yeah. I have a mommy brain. And, I think that sometimes when we do these kind of lifestyle resets, it can really elucidate the fact that actually our life is not working for us the way it should.
For sure.
And that small shift. So maybe share that with us.
Yeah, for sure. So about 2 weeks before we spoke for the first time, I had just returned back to work after an extended mat leave. So I was off for about 22 months. And I was just back to work, and it was crazy for me. It was a crazy change, first of all, to be away from home and away from my son, but also falling back into some old habits, the mindless eating at my desk, the 2:00 wall, the getting super tired on my commute, getting home and being exhausted and angry and short-tempered and just not in the best mood to be with my family. And as soon as I started to recognize those things, I realized that something needed to change. And I didn't want to be that person. I didn't want to feel, icky in my body. I didn't want to just mindlessly eat and then not remember what I had eaten that day or anything like that. And then the fact that it was being reflected in my mood was such a big deal to me because it's not the person that I wanted to be. And it wasn't the habits that I had when I was home. So what was so different about being in an office than being at home, and why was that such a big shift for me? So I knew I needed a reset. I knew I needed a lifestyle change because I wasn't able to hold myself accountable to the things that I knew my body needed. And then I also didn't know what my body needed, right? Or what my body didn't need. And so I knew I needed the guidance of somebody, yourself, a program, something to be like, listen, try this, see how it feels, try these techniques, try these tools. And you can only do what you can with what you know. And it takes, people like you and programs like this to really illuminate what is available to us and how easy, and I say easy because I feel like the changes that I made during the Metabolic Reset, yeah, they were changes and they were different from the lifestyle that I was used to. But once the habit started and once I started to see the changes in my life, it was a no-brainer for me. It was the best time to do it for sure.
And you're like me, you're a mom. So, when we're not at our best, that guilt creeps in, and I feel like a lot of moms have a hard time doing things for themselves because they're so giving and they're always giving, and people are always taking because those little people always need us. Yeah. And, it never ends. Mine are a little bit bigger and they still need me. Yeah. But what you come to realize, and I think what this program really does very well, is it makes you get into a place where you can be the best possible version of yourself in terms of patience, in terms of attention, in terms of mood, and the people that you love the most in your life benefit from it. And that's really all that's important, I think, for most of us parents. I mean, there are lots of important things, but those are the places we want to be at our best if we can, and we just keep moving forward. So what's changed? Tell me a little bit about the changes, maybe the ones that you weren't expecting to share.
So what I'll share, just one more thing, is that I started this program about 3 weeks into COVID-19 isolation, right? And so those first 3 weeks of being at home, and the mindless eating continued, the stress continued, the anxiety was on high, we had no idea what was going to happen, and I could see it reflected in my weight, in my skin, in my body, in my mood, and in my marriage, all of those things. And so when it was, the opportunity was presented at our original start date for the program, you're like, do you want to continue, or do you want to, put it on hold? And I was like, no, I need this right now. Like, we are starting right now. And honestly, the changes for me were, I want to say immediate, because within a couple of days of, starting the program, I was like a totally different person. And I know that sounds like dramatic, and it sounds like, how is that even possible? It was just a couple of days. But it's so crazy, the impact that food has on our body. And we take it for granted, and we think, food just equals calories, or food just equals energy, but it equals so much more. And I think this program was really, fascinating to me in that sense, where I was like, how can intermittent fasting have an impact on my personality? How can, the foods that I put into my body have an impact on the way that I respond to my husband or to my son, or the way that I process thoughts and the clarity of mind that I have? And so those kinds of things for me were priceless. So even though I saw changes on the scale, it wasn't, those significant, like, huge number changes that a lot of people see, but it didn't matter to me, because for me, being able to have a calm conversation with my husband about topics that had always been an issue for us and had always triggered me, to be able to say, oh, wait a minute, I can look at this objectively now, and I'm no longer under so much internal stress, that I can process this situation and I can have a calm conversation with you about it. And we've joked that, like, we wouldn't have survived quarantine, or we wouldn't be surviving quarantine, if it wasn't for this program. And I could bring him down here right now and he could tell you that himself, but it's true. It's crazy. I can't even describe the changes. It's mood, it's patience, it's awareness of my body and how it feels and how it reacts to different foods. And, I could go on, the gratitude practices, the mindful eating, the mindful exercises, all of that has just had a huge impact on myself, my relationship with myself, my relationship with my husband, my son, all of it.
Wow. That's so exciting to hear. No, it's just wow, because I think one of the things that is my mission in life is to show people that food is really, especially with moms, one of the number one ways you can take care of yourself. It's like the practice of self-care on a daily basis by nourishing yourself. And it has such a massive impact on ourselves, but I see also on this generation of kids, the generation of kids that come through, and we start just giving them food so that they're nourished, because they're so undernourished. And I think as moms, we're undernourished too, because we're running around and just shoving something in because we're so hungry.
Yeah.
And it's such a blessing for me to even hear you say, wow, it really shifted my mood, because it makes me feel so grateful that we, came together on this journey, because I love being able to impact and empower someone to not have to always look forward and go, well, I just had anxiety, or I'm just moody, like I'm just hormonal, that's who I am. And able to say, oh my God, I have so much control over so many things in my life in a time when it doesn't feel like there's a lot of control. So it's so exciting always for me to hear the stories, because everyone gets something different. But this is just the start, right? This is just the start. And so your biggest success was really the mood, yeah?
For sure.
And really understanding what impacts your mood too, right? A lot of people don't know until they really kind of take something away and then add it back to say, oh, I really was cranky after that.
Yeah, and I can tell you, like, this is, like, I'm wrapping up the program now, so I'm starting to introduce different foods, and immediately I can feel the impacts, both like on my clarity of mind, but also my skin. Like, my skin starts to itch as soon as I have something that I know my body doesn't agree with, and now I can just say, okay, you know what? Now I know And this is my body's way of telling me, like, listen, we're good. You know, we've done so well for these past 6 weeks. Like, let's keep it going. And that's motivation to me to be like, I want my marriage to be fun and happy and understanding. I want that. And, you know, if I have to give up bread or tasty bread for that to happen, then so be it. Because I feel like if that's just something that doesn't agree with my body and causes my body to stress and therefore me to stress, then that's okay. I can live without that, because there's so much other yummy food that this program has introduced me to. And I think that's one of the takeaways that I have with this, is that as much as you think of programs as being restrictive, this program really invites you to explore foods that are already out there in different ways, right? And I think that was really eye-opening to me when I saw the list, and I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to eat? And then I was like, oh no, wait a minute, I can make this. And here's a recipe today. And the emails with the recipes, the books with the recipes, like all of that was so helpful. And just, I think being in quarantine and being able to really plan out our meals and try new things and work with what was in stock at a grocery store was so helpful.
So Kathia, have you done programs like this before? Anything like this? Or, you know, I mean, it seemed like it was the exact right time. When we spoke the first time, you were like, I'm in. And there was no hesitation.
Yeah. So yes, I have done similar programs. I had done a Candida cleanse with Dr. Vivian. So I've had skin issues related to food and related to Candida for a few years. And I would always do a cleanse, and then I'd fall off, and I'd come back to food, and then my skin would react, and then I'd clean it up again, and then I'd come back to food, and so on and so forth. But I feel like this program really kind of just, I don't know if it was the duration of it or the accountability factor or the fact that, again, I was seeing the difference in mood, and I was able to kind of articulate that and have my husband tell me, like, you're a different person now. Like, that to me was like, okay, like this is real, and I need to pay attention to this.
And it's like your own free food sensitivity test, I tell people, because we just don't know how things impact us.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty in the whole thing, is you can go back to trying everything that you weren't eating, and it's so non-restrictive, right? It's so much food. It's so much, but those mindful pieces, the sleep, all those fundamentals of healthy life, my goal is to introduce those to people or remind them of those things they've heard in the past and really start re-implementing those things, because those are the things, those diet and lifestyle, those lifestyle pieces that really keep us healthy long-term, change the trajectory of our health. And as a parent, if we can impart that and model that for our kids, then it really gives them the opportunity to learn from an early age that, you know, sleep is really important, and let's go out and be outside because it's healing for us. So I'm so pleased about that. So if you were to recommend the MRP to your best friend, what would you tell them?
I would definitely tell them that it would change their life. If they are wanting a change in their life and they're willing to put in the work, because it is work, right? It takes discipline, and it takes accountability, and it takes a real desire to want to change your life, because it's not just going to impact, you, it's going to impact your family. And I think that was a big change for us, in the sense that it wasn't just what I was eating, because now it affects what my son is eating and what my husband is eating, and they start to get curious, like, oh, if you're not eating regular rice, you're eating cauliflower rice, how different is it? And that, just small things like that. But I think if I were to recommend it to anybody, I would say, like, if you are serious about making a change and you're willing to be accountable to yourself and to the reason why you started this, then the possibilities are endless, whether it's weight, whether it's mood, whether it's, just an awareness of your body. I think it's a no-brainer for people. Absolutely.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing. I don't know if there's any last kind of things you want to share with us, or, lasting thought that you want to share with the community. I feel so blessed to have been on that journey with you, and that you have seen a shift, and because now you're impacting your whole family. And I think that's just so huge. We do need that in our communities. We need to have healthier families and healthier parents, and we are under stress at all times. So when you can do something, a shift that's not too stressful, it takes work, but there's small little shifts if you make. It's not as hard as making like a 180-degree shift.
Yeah, for sure. I think, a couple of things that I would add is that, as somebody who took on this program, I know that there's couples that do it, but I took it on myself. But even the changes that I made had an impact on my family. Now, they didn't do the program the way that I did it, but they learned to incorporate different foods into their diet and replace certain foods in their diet and be, more creative with the cooking that we do. Like my husband does, half the cooking in our family, and now he's adding vegetables and using a mandolin slicer to cut a cucumber and all kinds of things that we never did pre-program, right? So all of that, it doesn't take like a full commitment from everybody in your family. If you want to start implementing changes, you can be that kind of enabler to start making changes for your entire family. So it doesn't take this gigantic shift for everybody. You can be the flame that starts it, for sure. I think that's one thing that I would say. And the other thing that I would say is that it's never too late, right? Like, I wish this program would have been around pregnancy, pre-baby, and then, as soon as I had my son. And so like it could have started 16 years ago for me, and that would have been too late, right? But I'm glad I started it when I did. And I think anybody who's watching and who's thinking, oh man, I should have started this at the beginning of quarantine, like, start now, right? Like, don't worry about the 8 weeks that have gone by, or 10 weeks that have gone by, or 16 years that have gone by. You can always start to make changes, and it doesn't matter whether you start today or you start next week. Like, make the commitment and make the change, because as soon as you start, you'll see the impact, for sure. And then I think the final thing that I would say is I'm so grateful for the community, the Facebook group, and the ability to interact with you and interact with the other people on the program, to be able to ask questions and say, okay, like this unit, this is what it meant for me, and this is like the question that came out of it. And all of that interaction, I think that community of everybody who's either been through the program or going through the program and is asking the same questions or experiencing the same situations, I think is so beneficial. And it's such a tool for us to be able, like, now that I'm kind of wrapping up the program, I'm eager to go back to the original units and be like, oh, right, the importance of sleep, or the importance of, activating the vagus nerve, and all of those kinds of things, right? That I feel you can always use a refresher on, and they're there. The tools are there for you to come back to anytime.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And again, thank you so much for coming on. This is so great. I love success stories, because your story might just shift someone's mindset, and to making that change. Most of us were busy. We're like, oh, we don't have time for change. But like you said, you can just start, and you can continue. Like you said, you can always go back to, hopefully continue on with the healthy lifestyle and those pieces, and just remind yourself, like you said. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come and speak with us. And we'll see you maybe at Coffee Talk.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kathia. Have a wonderful, wonderful night.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye.